Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Mahmoud Hamid. As I said, several of you have taken a class with me, at least one class with me. I see a lot of names from Intro to ECSE, so I guess we meet again. So today's discussion is going to be related to ECSE 2610, Computer Components and Operations, or we often call it CoCO. So we'll be talking about that. In the meantime, I would like to share something with you. So it looks like out of the attendees, um, 8 students selected a black background for the presentations. So thank you for taking this poll. I will continue to use black as my background color. So I can let that be there. Okay. We have about 12 people who joined, so I guess that's good. Let's move on. So what I'm going to do first is talk about who I am a little bit, not too much. Then I'll talk about the equipment that is required for the studio exercises for CoCo. Um, and this is required equipment. And several of you have responded to my email that I sent last week about whether you are interested to buy it for yourself or whether you want us to ship you the equipment and when you're done with the semester, you ship us the board and the cable back. So if you have not responded to that email, please do that right now. It is time critical because the shipping is taking a lot of time. There are lots of delays, as you know. So I would encourage you guys to respond right away if you have not done that already. For those of you who did, thank you very much. I have your address, I have your information. So we are working to put the package together. I have personally tested the boards, so they're all working fine. So it's we are going to ship it out maybe sometime this week or at the latest next week. For those of you who have already sent the email address, so your street address. Um, then we'll move on to talking about the online tools we are going to use for the class. This is online tools. So I'm talking about Piazza, Gradescope, LMS, and so on. Then we'll also talk about the software tools that we are going to use for simulations that are going to be part of the studio exercises that we do. And this shouldn't take too much time, maybe about 15-20 minutes. And once we are done with that, I'll take your questions. So my name is Mahmoud Hamid. My email address is written up on the screen, so feel free to email me if you have any questions. I'm going to be a little bit busy because this semester, the spring semester, is wrapping up. So I'm a little bit tied up with making exams and grading and wrapping up the course. Um, but I'm going to try to do my best to respond to you as soon as possible. Um, then my WebEx personal room link is also provided over there. So when I get done with this semester, before the start of the next semester, I will be available to you through WebEx meetings. And the link that you should make a note of is the one that uh, should appear on your screen right now. Um, so that's going to be very helpful for office hours, for class meetings. We are going to use WebEx meetings. Then I just want to give you guys a brief idea about the kind of courses that I teach at RPI in the ECSE department. I have several that I teach, starting from Intro to ECSE to Signals and Systems to KNOS to communication systems to digital communication and capstone design. I also teach a core engineering class called electronic instrumentation. So I love interacting with students, and I try to interact with as many students as possible. I get to learn from the students, and I hope you guys get to learn a little bit from me. Okay, moving on. This is going to be the most important slide here. The required studio equipment consists of two parts, two things. One is the Basis 3 FPGA board, and it comes in a package. I hope you guys can see this little tiny box here, which says Basis 3. So it's a board that looks like the board that is shown to you on the screen. One thing that is often mistaken is the existence of the cable in the box. There's no USB A to micro B cable in the box. We have to get it separately. Although if you have an Android phone, I think many of you already have this cable available at your place. But if you don't have one, then I would encourage you to get that cable with those specific endpoints. Uh, uh, well, if you're asking us to ship it to you, we will be shipping the cable to you. But if you're buying it for yourself, don't forget the cable. Um, so how do we do things? Well, we write up our digital design code to program an FPGA on this board, which is, you can see that right in the middle of that board. That's the FPGA, or the brains of the board. That's what we would program. And then we have several slide switches over here. We have bunch of LEDs. We have bunch of 7-segment displays. We have push buttons. You can hook it up to a monitor, you can hook up a mouse, you can hook auxiliary ports over here. So there's a lot of functionality that you can do for this prototyping, a very versatile prototyping board used for FPGA um, labs. So we are going to use this for most of our lab exercises, which is going to be a considerable portion of your CoCO grade. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be, exciting for you because you're trying to interact with the software. You're programming the software. So I hope you guys benefit from that. Just to give you guys a heads up, this particular skill of programming FPGAs have benefited a lot of my previous students, and they were able to get internships and full-time jobs because of this particular skill. So I would encourage you guys to take full advantage of this opportunity with CoCO here. Okay, let me take a pause here and see if you guys have any questions. So we can do it because there's just 12 on this call. Okay, so here the question is, what language are we going to use? We are going to use VHDL. VHDL to program this FPGA. We are not going to use C. We are not. So there are two um, languages that are commonly used to program FPGAs. One is VHDL that we are going to use. The other is Verilog. Um, but I'm comfortable with VHDL. I think it's a little bit easier to convey a VHDL through in the academia setting. So I'm going to follow that. So VHDL actually stands for, the V itself stands for very high speed integrated circuit, and HDL stands for hardware description language. So a long acronym here, but that's what we will use. It is supposed to give us the flexibility to program the FPGA using a syntax that is familiar to humans, as opposed to writing binary code or assembly code. This is a higher level programming tool um, that allows us to write a syntax-based, user-friendly hardware description language. Okay, other questions? So feel free to, um, uh, you know, use your mic or type it in. Going once, going Twice sold. Okay, so when we ship you the equipment, we will be shipping you these two items, and um, there are lots of precautions that I request you to take while using this board. So we have a limited supply for the department, and these are reprogrammable boards. So we have been using this for the last 2 years, and students have been very cooperative and they have been very safe. So they have handled the boards with a lot of safety, which is why none of them have been damaged so far. And now that uh, we are sending you these boards, we expect you to be careful with uh, when you use them. So, for example, two things to be very careful of. One is no food or drinks near the board, so that we don't have a situation where you spill food or liquids onto the board, which will damage the board. So we don't want that to happen. That's point number one. And the second point is to make sure that you don't shut out ICs because of static charge on you. So what I usually do before I um, touch the board is I touch a metallic surface to discharge the static charge on my body first, and then I touch the board. So in order to protect the board from the static, it actually comes with two padded foam layers, one on the top and one on the bottom. So you can use that to protect it a little bit, um, but make sure that before you touch the board, just reach out to the nearest metallic surface, discharge the static charge on you, and then you handle the board. That way, there's no damage to any of the ICs. So two things: no spills, no static. So please make sure that you do those things. Apart from that, be gentle. So one main problem that occurs is when you hook up this particular cable to the board, it is not very durable. It's not very rugged. So uh, just be gentle when you are plugging in to the board and plugging it out of the board. The other end goes to the computer, so that's fine. That's a USB port in and out, and you have done that many times. So I'm sure that will be okay. However, the connection to the board itself is, so it goes right there at that edge, and that's the end that goes there, and it is a little bit uh, delicate. So I request you to be a little bit gentle with that connection and disconnection as well. Okay. Um, Questions or concerns at this time? So if you guys are wondering about the shipping back process, we are going to send you the return shipping information. You will not be charged for that. The department is going to pay for your shipment back. So all you have to do is arrange for a UPS pickup, and uh, that way we can ensure the return shipment. So the information will be provided to you in the box. If for some reason we don't do it in the box, then I will definitely email all those instructions during the summer term, or at the end of the summer term, when it is time for you to send it back. So you will not be charged, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so if there are no questions at this time, let's move on with our presentation. So um, again, I'm harping about this email sent last week again and again, just because we do not want to wait for everyone to send in the complete address and their responses. So make sure that you respond. Some of you have responded like immediately, in a matter of few seconds after I sent the email, so which was very encouraging to see. Thank you very much for that. Uh, and if you haven't, please do that right now. So what I want is your full name and the complete address. This should be the address where you want us to ship the board. So this will be, maybe in a couple of weeks time. So this is where we are going to ship the board to you. And the third question over here is asking you about whether you are interested to buy the board yourself or you want us to ship you the board. The cost of the board is about $150, and you can buy it through Digilent, which is a distributor, or you can also buy it through DigiKey. They are about the same price, and there's another $4 or $5 for the cable. All those links, I provided all those links in the email that I sent last week. If you did not receive the email, then please make sure that you email me that you didn't receive that email. Um, but I'm going to request again, please reply to these things right away. We need your information. Okay. Now let's come to the online tools. The online tools that we are going to use for this class, there are going to be 4 of them. One is Piazza, the second one is Gradescope, third one LMS, and the fourth one is essentially our most important online tool here, which is the WebEx meetings, what we are using right now. So Piazza, we are going to use that for discussion as a discussion forum between students. And you can also use that for question answers that the TA or the instructor will help you figure out. So this is supposed to be a place where you ask content related questions. This is not the place where you ask about grading related questions or what's going to be my grade, or things that are supposed to be private. Please don't talk about that on the Piazza forum page. This is supposed to be a community, a platform. So maybe you find something interesting and you want to share it with others. Maybe you have a particular question. So for example, why does a NOT gate only have one input? So if you have technical questions, content related questions, please feel free to ask them on Piazza. And I suppose some of you have already used Piazza, so you don't need that. You don't need much introduction there. The other online tool that we are going to be using is Gradescope. All the class-related submissions and grading is going to happen using Gradescope. So you will submit through Gradescope. It will be graded on Gradescope, and the deliverables will be returned to you via Gradescope. If you are new to Gradescope, I have a couple of very short videos that are essentially tutorials to get you started. There's a YouTube channel on Gradescope, which is very nice. So you can get a lot of information online as well on Gradescope. LMS, where we are going to use LMS to record all the scores. So this is going to be our bookkeeping. We are also going to use LMS to distribute any material that I may need to during the semester. Piazza, I like how the distribution of material happens through Piazza. So I'm going to use Piazza and LMS to push the material through to you guys. And then WebEx meetings, of course, we are going to have live lectures. We will be having quizzes during the lectures, and I will also conduct my office hours on WebEx, just exactly the same way as we are meeting right now. Now, just to give you guys a sense of the online quizzes, let me start a poll and see what you guys think about this. So what I'm going to do is, I already took a poll, but I'm going to do another one here. Um, see what happens. Uh, so give me a moment here while I get to my question. Um, Okay. Um, so I guess 2 minutes is good enough for this. I hope you guys are ready. And let's go. Okay. So the poll should be coming through. Okay, we are left with 45 seconds. Okay, 20 more seconds. Guys, I just want to say we are right now using WebEx meetings. Okay, polling ended. Okay, so it looks like those are the results here. Um, so about 27%, 3 out of 11 have chosen Piazza, 3 out of 11 have chosen Gradescope, 2 each for LMS, WebEx Teams, some of you, nobody answered none of the above. So that means that out of the 11, in some shape or form, you guys have used these tools at some point. Um, so which is encouraging. And right now we are using option D, WebEx meetings. I would have thought that that number would have been much higher because in the past, 5 minutes ago, you did use WebEx meetings. Anyway, uh, I feel like you thought it was before this meeting. Um, all right. So the reason why I took this poll is twofold. One is I wanted you to be a little bit familiar with the kind of things that we are going to do in the class. So during a normal class, this probably would be used to look at attendance, monitor student understanding. So I'm going to do this from time to time so that I know how much of what I'm saying is getting through. The most difficult aspect of online education is I have no clue how much you are able to understand because I don't have that uh, body language instant feedback. So I'm going to use this WebEx polling to help me gauge how much you are able to grasp. Okay, so the the poll only lets you see one option. Okay, so I guess this was a it was a single. Okay, never mind. We I probably I thought I had selected multiple answer possible, but in any way, we'll do this polling again when we meet. So I'm going to try to learn this as well. Okay, but we are going to use this is what I'm trying to say. So uh, during class. I'm hoping that you are, engaged um, and active. Okay. Uh, Questions or concerns from you? Yeah. No, I intended it to be a multiple answer possible, but apparently I did not choose the right option. I thought I did, but it didn't go through that way. Never mind. This is not for credit. Okay. Let's see here. Online tools are done. Let's move on to the software for the studios. So two main softwares that we are going to use. These are for the studios. One is the Xilinx Vivado Design Suite. This is free for students. You just have to make an account with Xilinx. Um, that software is going to be used for FPGA related exercises. And when we get to the semester, I will be sharing the installation guides with you so that you can install it on your desktop computers or laptops. But that's the one that we are going to use for FPGA related exercises. And that's the one that will have a VHDL code that you can write VHDL code in. The next one is LogicWorks 5. This is a pretty old piece of software that we use for simulating digital circuits. So we are going to use that for the design exercises that are based off of the 7400 series ICs. So this is the licensing for this is very flexible. Their shared licensing is okay. So you guys can team up, or if you want to team up with me, I have a copy as well. So we can share a license. So effectively, you don't have to pay money for the software here. Okay. So I'll talk more about the choices and how do you go about installing them and using them when we get closer to the summer term. All right. So that's all I got. It's now your turn to ask me questions. So feel free to use your mic or in the chat box, whichever one is convenient. What sort of projects will we building? So in terms of building, there's no building projects, as in you will be simulating it through VHDL and you will generate a FPGA executable file, which you will download to the board using that cable. But that design will be as simple as a logic gate to implementing memory to implementing a finite state machine to counters. So lot of these terms might uh, not seem familiar, but we will be essentially making the board. So you guys remember if I go back to the picture of the board here. So say for example, I want a message to scroll on top of the 7 segment displays. Can I do that? And I want it to scroll only when I flip a switch. Can I do that? So those kind of projects require a lot of design and a lot of we are going to essentially have to program each and every aspect of how slow or how fast do you want that message to scroll, in which direction do you want that to scroll, and what happens when you flip the switch. So the each and every aspect of that design needs to be programmed. So we'll be looking at that, logic gates to sequential circuits to finite state machines, counters, lots of interesting projects there. For those of us with spotty Wi-Fi, will there be any accommodation for time zones or quizzes? Should immediate access be impossible? Uh, well, so Mr. McCormick asked a very important question, and I want to say that I understand the Wi-Fi can be spotty. It might be spotty for me when I teach the class. So in those kind of situations where you have a spotty Wi-Fi or a time zone conflict, please contact me and we will resolve that situation. Um, so far, uh, what I've been noticing is most of the class is kind of in the Northeast. Some of you are on campus. But in terms of time zone, it might be uh, you know not a big issue. It might be like a special case. But there are cases where a student is in China, for example. So we will have to take it on a case by case basis. Now, in terms of quizzes, uh, I'm going to have to work with that student to see how that quizzes is going to go, because um, I really want this to be a class that is as close to the real class as possible. Um, so I'm going to work with students to accommodate for the time zones and the spotty Wi-Fi. However, I just don't want to, uh, you know, say you just watch the lectures on YouTube, for example. That is not going to benefit me or you. But in case where it is necessary, I will make those exceptions. I'm on the West Coast. Will Yes, the lectures will be recorded and they will be posted on YouTube. So you will get to you will get to watch them at a later time. However, I still want us to be part of the class. Like I want us to move through the class times um, as you would. So um, if it so I believe, yeah, CoCo is a 8 o'clock class. So in the West Coast, that'll be 5 a.m. So right, you're right. It's not feasible for you to wake up at 5 a.m. and attend a class. So for those kind of special cases, you will need to look at the YouTube video. So I will be posting them regularly, almost as soon as the class is done on YouTube. Is there only one lecture a week? No, actually, there are two lectures a week. So there's a lecture on Monday and Thursday, and there is a studio on, I believe, Monday afternoon. So Monday, Thursday, 8 a.m. to 10, 10. Let me actually look at the numbers here because I thought that, let's see, what are we looking at? SIS. Uh,
Oh, yeah, I was checking the first week of summer classes and it
yeah.
only had your lecture for Thursday. But then I went another week into the future and then the Monday lecture shows up and then the studio section shows up as well.
Right. Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Yeah. One class a week is going to be too tight. I wouldn't be able to do it.
yeah.
Um, right. So I actually have two classes in the summer. So I do 8 to 10 with CoCo, and then 10:30 to 12 signals and systems, and then so we meet Monday, Thursday at 8 a.m. and then there is a lab from 1:30 to 4 o'clock on Monday itself. Um,
Okay.
yep.
And then
See
what day do we start what day do we
sorry,
start our summer courses? Do
what
you
day do
know?
we? Oh yeah, May 26th.
May 26th. Okay. Oh,
Yes.
that makes sense why Monday is blank. Okay. That explains it.
So May 26th. Yeah, it's a Tuesday, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So May 26th, and the full 12-week course ending August 21st when we hopefully meet on campus. Let's see. So the lab that is at 1:30 to 4 o'clock. This is going to be the time where Uh, right now, I'm going to, depending on who and how many TA hours I get, there's going to be a TA uh, leading you through that lab exercise. Um, and depending on where we are in terms of content, I may be a part of it, or I may not be a part of it. So at the initial phase where you guys are new to the board, I may come in to give some introductory lectures. But as the semester progresses, then it will be the TA who manages that studio, which means that it'll have to be a live interaction between you and the TA. The studio exercises will be posted ahead of time, so you can work on them at a different time. But in case you need help, in case you are required to show your results to the TA live, then that 2.5 hour time slot will be critical. Um, because I cannot expect the TA to be available throughout. We can have office hours set up at an alternate time, um, but that's about it. So let's see. There's another question here. For examinations, what online format do you plan to use? LMS multiple choice, written and scanned? Yes, both of them. Uh, so far, I have done the written and scanned online exams, but um, I may choose to also start the LMS multiple choice questions. But right now, it's going to be written, and then you scan your answers. So a lot of the details about exams, um, I am learning all the tricks and trades about online proctoring. So um, I'm hoping that from all the experiences that I gather this semester, I will be able to make the necessary changes for the summer semester. So I want that to be fair for you guys, and I also want it to be convenient for you guys. So I don't want this to become inconvenient for you or me. All right, other questions? All right, let me.
Wait, I got another question. So, what time will exams be at? Like, if they're at 8 in the morning, and I'm on the West Coast, I'm gonna have to get up at 5 in the morning. What
Right.
could be like? Is it gonna be an all day, or is it between a certain time that we have to take the exam?
Right. So the details we can figure out as we go. So
Okay.
another thing that we could do is schedule the exam on the studio time, which is right in the middle of the day. So the time zone factor should not be such a big deal, um,
Okay.
at least for the students in the US. Um, so we will have a couple of options, and I will work with you. I do not want the you guys to feel like you cannot do the best. You are able to, because of a time zone issue. So when it comes to an important question of exam performance, then it has to be fair to all students.
Okay.
Yeah. So we will have a lot of polls, and we will have a lot of discussion, and we'll hopefully come to a resolution there. But So if the 8 o'clock doesn't work, then we have a backup with the Monday 1:30 time slot. Actually, I think even with the in-person lectures last summer, I actually used the studio time for exams.
Okay, that's good to know. And yeah, and what about homework? Is it just the lab that we have, or is it we
Oh
have
no, so
additional homework?
we have we have homeworks. i- uh, so these are supposed to be relatively short, work through a few problems that you learn in class. So right now, what I have in mind is you will be assigned two homeworks a week, but they will be due in 1 week time. So for example, you will be
Okay.
assigned a homework on Monday, which will be due the following Monday, and you will be assigned another homework on Thursday, which will be due the following Thursday. So this is a scheme that was used by several of the summer classes in the past, and it seemed to have worked very well. Um, so that way, you're still getting the homeworks, and by having two homeworks in 1 week, we are kind of keeping each homework short enough so that you can tackle it. But you also have the 1 week time to work on it. So I have found that to be a reasonable trade-off. Um, so yeah, so you will get homework problems, which will be 10 to 15% of your grade, wherein you will work through the problems. You will scan your work using your phone or a scanner if you have one, and then you will upload it to Gradescope.
Okay.
So we will have. Let's see. Maybe I can make the edits right here. Uh, so because this seems to be a popular question, maybe we can talk about the various components of class, components of components class. Let's see here. So the first thing would be homework. It'll be 10 to 15%. As let's see, I said assigned Monday, Thursday, due the following Monday, Thursday. Then we said uh, studios, studio exercises will be about 20% of your grade. Um, and I'm not, I'm just thinking out loud here. These might, of course, change a little bit. Uh, so I'm basing these things on my previous CoCO offerings. And then two um, midterms and final exam. Um, and then uh, attendance. Uh, some component will be for the your attendance or your how your polling and quizzes and participation throughout the semester. Um, so for those of you who are not able to attend the live lectures, then we will have to think about an alternative on how you are going to um, indicate that you are understanding the material and you are engaged with the content. But essentially, that's what I have right now. All right, other questions, guys? Okay. Um, so let's see. There's a question online in the chat box that says, "Do you think the institute will change their grading policies for the summer term like they did for the end of this semester?" I don't know. Um, I really don't know. I wish I had an answer to that. Yeah, well, I would not jump to a yes and no right now. I think it's a little bit too early to. Um, so I'm sorry. The Poly did an article that in summer there will be pass no credit option. Will we be learning VHDL through the course, or is it something you should? No, I will walk you through each and every aspect of VHDL. So I will be learning. I will be teaching you VHDL. So we'll start from scratch. All right. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing that information. I'm going to have to read through that. Seems like we have answered Alan's question. Other questions, guys? Okay. If you guys think of any question that you are not able to get an answer to right now, please email me that question and I will try to respond in a timely manner. As I mentioned earlier, the time right now is a little bit critical until the finals week. But I'll try to get an answer to you right away. Hopefully, after the semester, the finals week gets done, I will have all the time in the world to attend to your questions. Um, so I hope this was helpful. I hope you got the information that you were looking for. And I would like to hope that if there were anxieties about how the lab course, CoCo lab course is going to be conducted, those anxieties are a little bit reduced after this. But if you're still concerned, at the end of the presentation, I saw that some students were expressing some concern about time zones and um, the exam times and online quizzes. Um, I can work on that with you on an individual special case basis. Um, so I'm going to try to accommodate um as much as possible as while being fair to everyone. Okay. Um, so uh, if you guys think that I can make some changes, I'd like to hear your side of the story as well. I'm going to do my best to convey the material to you. And while I do that, I'm going to try to make it fun for you. Um, Believe me, I'm going to try to make it fun for you. Um, but uh, you know, a student's perspective is very important, and I value that. So uh, either by email or right now, let me know what you know, like how can I do my job differently so that on your end the experience is really good. So you are able. My goal is for you to become experts at digital logic. That's my goal. Um, so if I can change a few things, if I can tweak a few things on my end, I will do it. Okay. Well, that's all I had. Unless we start a poll about how many of you are in your pajamas, um, we can have a poll on that. Um, there's the first ever time I have taught a class in my pajamas. I'm not really proud of that, but I had to. Okay. Um, well, this is it. I'm going to see you guys when we meet next. Um, Hopefully at the beginning of the summer term, May 26th. So before that, you will see emails and you will see me adding you to several, Piazza and Gradescope and all those tools. Um, so we'll start our uh, discussion back up in mid-May, around mid-May. All right, I'm going to uh, pause for a minute, and if there are no questions, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you for being here. And I hope you guys are being safe. You guys are taking the necessary precaution. It looks like the capital region is going to expect its peak somewhere around mid to third week of May. So the worst, that's what the data suggests. So this is the time for those of you who are in the Northeast. This is the time where we need to be really, really precautious. All right, let us end the meeting.